Let's take a look a few minutes at this week's Parsha. Behar Bechukosai. Behar begins with the mitzvah of Shemitah, the mitzvah of Yovel. And continues talking about various mitzvahs that deal with Yovel, purchasing and selling land in Eretz Yisrael. Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't allow, under most conditions, outright sales. In the time of the Yovel, you can sell a piece of property to your neighbor, but that sale is only good until Yovel. So if it's the 25th year of Yovel, the sale is for 24 years, because after that, the land will return to you. It depends if it's a field, if it's a house. That's the Parsha discusses that as well. And the Rebbeinu Shalom says in Perek Chaf Hey Pasuk Chaf Gimel, "Ha'oretz lo simocha litzmisus." You cannot sell any part of Eretz Yisrael on a permanent sale basis. Ki li ha'oretz. This country, this area called Eretz Yisrael belongs to me, God said. And if it's mine, you can't sell something that's mine. But I give you permission sort of to do long rentals. And the longest rental is 49 years. So if this is the first year after Yovel, you can sell your land to someone for 49 years, which means it's a 49-year rental. And the price for that is going to depend upon the time up to Yovel. So if there are 49 years to the next Yovel, the buyer or the renter will have 49 years to use the house or the field. Technical rules involved there. But if you sold him or rented him the area 40 years into Yovel, the price is going to be much different because he's only going to have 9 years of use. And that is also discussed in the Parshat. You can't just outright sell a piece of land. Kili kol Eretz Yisrael belongs to me, God says. You can't sell what's not yours. And this is the concept of Yovel. In Yovel, the land goes back to its original owners. And we have Parshas Bechukosai, which obviously we all know has the first set of barachas in it, and then has the Tochacha. God forbid if Jews are not Shema Torah mitzvahs, they will be forced at some point to go into Golus. And that's discussed in Parshas Bechukosai. In Parshas Behar, we can understand this because of the situation that we went through and are continuing to go through with the corona. This quarantine, the lockdown, self-quarantine. I'm staying in my home. I'm not leaving my home. And there's been a lot of discussion, a lot has been written about whether this is psychologically healthy for adults, for children to get locked in your house and not leave your home. And even if you leave your home for some food or for some medicine, if that's needed, we're not visiting our children, our grandchildren. Now you can visit your grandchildren. The Prime Minister said you can visit your grandchildren, but don't hug them and don't kiss them. We're starting to open up and people are starting to go out, again, with caution. We need to remember that the government is opening the situation based upon all kinds of pressures, including economic pressure, but everybody has to think to themselves, what is the right thing for me in terms of the health issue? And that's a mitzvah for a person to keep himself healthy. So because the government says something's open, don't rush to it. But we understand that taking away freedom of movement, you cannot leave your house. When Pesach came and they said, for the next, 24, 36 hours, you can't be seen in the street. Complete lockdown. We understood what that felt like. I can't walk out of my house. It gives you the sense of like being a prisoner. And even when you can leave your house, again, for food or medicine, you get a sense of I'm being controlled. I'm not free to drive where I want. I have 100 meters, I have 500 meters. There's a sense of control over where I can go and where I can't go. I don't like that. I want to have freedom of movement. I want to go where I want, when I want. This concept of I want to go where I want, when I want, is a concept in this week's Parsha of Behar. In Parak the beginning of Parshas Behar, the Pasuk says, V'kidashtem, in terms of Yovel. Yovel is the 50th year. Shemitah is every 7 years. Every 7 Shemitahs is 49 years. And the 15 years, what they call the Jubilee year, Yovel. V'kidashtem eshnas hachamishim shon. You shall sanctify the 50th year. Ukrosem deror ba'oretz l'chol yoshveh. And you shall call out a deror. We don't know what deror means yet. You shall call a deror in the land for all its inhabitants. It reminds us of the song on Shabbos that we sing, Deror Yikra Levain Imbas. What does the word deror mean? And that's what we're going to learn about today. What is a deror? But it says in the 50th year of Yovel, you shall call a deror in the land, L'chol Yoshveh, to all its inhabitants. Yovelhi. This will be called Yovel. Tia lachem, v'shavtem ish alachuzaso. Every man shall return to his land. As we mentioned, the land returns to its original owners. V'ish al mishpachto tashuv. And every man will return to his family. So if a person was sold or sold himself, again, we're not going to go into those halachas, as a slave, Yovel, he goes free. He goes free. So even that slave, that Eved Yisrael, who after 6 years said in Parshas Mishpatim, I want to stay with my master, and they put a puncture in his earlobe, and it says he shall be a slave forever. It doesn't mean forever, it means till Yovel. So this Yovel year, land is going to go back to its original owners, and people who were slaves are going to go back to their families. So everything's going to return to the way it used to be. The land goes back to where it once was, and the man goes back to his family. And this is called Krosem Duror Ba'aretz L'chol Yoshveh. The Targum Onkelos being the Tana, the Targum Onkelos on the pasuk says, "Ustekat shnas chamshin shana, you shall sanctify the 50th year, v'sakrun, and you shall call the 50th year Duror." What does the Targum Onkelos say on Duror? Cherusa, freedom. Cherusa, cherus. Pesach, Zaman Cheruseinu. The 50th year is a Duror, and Duror is a Hebrew word meaning freedom. This is a year of freedom. The slaves are now free to go home. The homes, the fields, are now free to be returned back to their original owner. Krosem Duror. The Yovel teaches us how important it is for a person to have freedom and to be able to go back to his family and to have his property returned to him. The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah explains to us why Duror means freedom. It's a Gemara in Rosh Hashanah on the Aftes Amud Beis. The Gemara says, Amar Reb Yehuda, my Lashon Duror. What does the word Duror mean? How does that mean freedom? So Reb Yehuda says, Duror comes from a Lashon, Dira, where you live. Kimedaira be daira, umovel schora b'chol medina. Rashi says on that Gemara, Kimedair be daira, mishahu b'shusai lagur b'chol molon sheyirtze. A person that's truly free is able to live wherever he wants. So the word Duror comes the word Dira, where I live. And where I live is my choice. I live wherever I want to. I don't get locked down. I don't get quarantined. I'm free to leave my house, and I'm free to spend the night wherever I want. I can live and spend a day or two, whatever. I can go where I want, and I can live where I want. And that's why the word Duror means freedom. It comes from the word Dira. Again, I'm reading Rashi. Mishahu Bershuso Loger B'chol Molon Sheyirtza. A person that has his authority to live wherever he wants. And that's the concept of Duror. Yet, in this week's Parsha, if you go to Perek Chaf Hey, Pasuk Lamed Ches, after the Torah tells us certain rules of Bein Adam L'Chaveiro, about helping another Jew who is poor, if you're going to lend money, you may not take interest or ribbis. And then the pasuk says in pasuk Lamed Ches, Ani Hashem Elokechem asher hotzeisi eschem me'eretz Mitzrayim. I am the God who took you out of Mitzrayim. Laseis lachem es Eretz Canaan. I took you out of Mitzrayim to give you Eretz Canaan, Eretz Yisrael. Lios lachem Elokim, so that I can be a God for you. I took you out of Eretz Mitzrayim to give you Eretz Yisrael, so that I can be your God. Now, if you just follow that literally, it says, I took you out of Mitzrayim to bring you to Eretz Yisrael so I can be your God in Eretz Yisrael. And the Gemara, there's a medrash that understood this way, and Rashi quotes this medrash. Rashi on this pasuk says, Lios lachem lelokim, I will be your God. I took you out of Mitzrayim to bring you to Eretz Yisrael to be your God. Rashi says, Shekol hador be'eretz Yisrael ani lo lelokim. One who lives in Eretz Yisrael, I am his God. V'chol hayotze mimena, a person that leaves Eretz Yisrael, ka'ovid avodah zarah. It's as if he's worshiping an idol. Rashi's being more machmir here than even the Gemara. The Gemara in Ksubis and Afkuf Yud Amud Beis, the famous Gemara, the Gemara says that someone that lives in Eretz Yisrael, it's as if he has a God, and someone that lives in Chutz La'aretz, it's as if he worships an idol. Rashi doesn't say that here. Rashi doesn't talk about living in Chutz La'aretz. Rashi says if you're in Eretz Yisrael and you leave Eretz Yisrael, it's as if you worship the Avodah Zarah. Rashi's now exposing us to a new chumrah. Not only living in Chutz La'aretz becomes a problem, but if you're in Eretz Yisrael and you leave Eretz Yisrael, it's as if you worship an idol. For this reason, I've mentioned several times in different shiurim, not that it's Noigeya today, right? People are not flying, but at times when people were flying and the skies were open, people took advantage of the situation. What does advantage mean? Advantage means I made aliyah. I live in Eretz Yisrael. I made my sacrifice for God. I made my sacrifice for Eretz Yisrael. I did my lech lecha. I uprooted my family. I uprooted my job. I uprooted my children. And I have an apartment in Eretz Yisrael. I did it, Baruch Hashem. And now I have my cousin's son's bar mitzvah. I want to go to the bar mitzvah. So I'm going to go to America to go to the bar mitzvah, or to England, or wherever to go to the bar mitzvah. I did my sacrifice. I live here already. I can't go to America. Rashi's here telling us that living in Eretz Yisrael is not a free-for-all. Rashi's telling us that God took us out of Mitzrayim to bring us to Eretz Yisrael, to be our God in Eretz Yisrael. And Kol Hayotze Mimenu, leaving Eretz Yisrael is ka'ovid avodah zarah. It's as if you leave avodah zarah. Then Lublin, what's the answer here? Does it mean I can never leave Eretz Yisrael once I come here? So let's take a look at, first of all, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Zechron Tzaddik Livracha's position. The Lubavitcher Rebbe was a tremendous, as we all know, Oev Yisrael, tremendous Oev Eretz Yisrael. He never came here. And as the story goes, when he was questioned why he didn't come to Eretz Yisrael, he has Hasidim here. Why didn't he come to Eretz Yisrael? His answer was because if he came to Eretz Yisrael, he would have no heter to leave Eretz Yisrael. So therefore he can't go because he has thousands of Hasidim who depend on him on a daily basis in Crown Heights. And once he would step foot into Eretz Yisrael, he doesn't believe he would have a heter to leave Eretz Yisrael. So therefore he never came. That's Lubavitcher Rebbe's view. Let's now look at a halachic view. I said this in a shiur probably 18 years ago. And I said it several times since then. You live in Eretz Yisrael. Your cousin's son's getting bar mitzvah. Your cousin's daughter getting bas mitzvah. There's a very important 60th birthday party of your brother. Can I go to Chutz La'aretz for that birthday party? So now let's think about how important that issue is to you. You're walking, when you ask a shayla, let's start this way. When you ask a shayla to your Rav only when something is important to you. If a subject is important to you, you don't want to do anything that may create a problem. So you're walking through the grocery store and you see some food item that you've been looking for the longest time, some spice, some sauce, whatever it is. And you look at the label and it has a symbol on it, but you've never seen that symbol. It has a KFPZ with a circle and an X in it. You don't know what it is. Because kashrus is so important to you, before you buy that product, you're going to either ask your Rav or get on your cell phone and say, I'm in the supermarket, I see the symbol. You're going to ask someone that knows about these things and say, do you know the rabbi behind the symbol is he reliable? Do you think I should buy it? You're going to ask the question. You ask the question because the subject matter is important to you. When things are not important to you, okay, it'll be okay, it's fine. Eretz Yisrael, if it's important to you, after your aliyah, it's not just important because you made the self-sacrifice to do it. Yashikayach, you deserve a pat on the back because you did it. But remember, as the Ramchal taught us in Das Tevunos, Zehu Zechusai Usachara, it's your merit and your reward. Part of living in Eretz Yisrael is itself a reward. Before I made aliyah, my wife and I traveled from Baltimore to New York. There was a show being put on at a hotel in Manhattan, and they had different builders, kablanim, who were going to show the different opportunities to purchase apartments in Ramat Beit Shemesh. It was a Ramat Beit Shemesh show, and this is probably 22 years ago. Kablanim came to Manhattan, and they had booths in this hotel, and they showed us pictures, etc. And besides the booths of the builders, there were also booths of bankers, so that you can get to know how to get a mashkanta, how the system works. So if you were really serious about making aliyah, you would meet the builders, you would meet other people, you would meet bankers, you would get to know the system and understand what you need to do to take the next step to begin processing a mashkanta. And I went to one of these booths, these mashkanta booths, and the person that was there was a frum person, and he was representing, I believe, Bank HaPoalim. And I sat there and I talked to him, not just about mashkanta, but about the whole idea of making aliyah. He was a British young man, and he had made aliyah. And I spoke to him about what you went through to make aliyah, your children, their education, your panasa. Obviously, you work for Bank HaPoalim. How do you get a job in Eretz Yisrael, etc. I spoke about these things, and we spent quite a bit of time together. And then he made the following comment to me. He said, I think many times about whether I have less olam haba than I had before I moved to Eretz Yisrael. I asked him why. Why do you think you have less olam haba when you moved to Eretz Yisrael? When you moved to Eretz Yisrael, you have so much more olam haba because of the wonderful thing you did. He said to me, when you move to Eretz Yisrael and you really live in Eretz Yisrael, and you merit the ability to do mitzvahs on a different level and study Torah on a different level and live with Jews and watch Chol Hamoed Sukkot and watch Chol Hamoed Pesach, and you have the opportunity to see the beauty of Yiddishkeit, it was so enjoyable to me just to live there. I have such hana just living there that this may be part of my Olam Haba, just living there. So the idea of living in Eretz Yisrael is not just a mitzvah, it's a schar, it's an unbelievable privilege. You know, again, we come to Ribono Shalom, we say, Ribono Shalom, give me a shtickle Olam Haba, look at what I did to come to Eretz Yisrael. Ribono Shalom says, yeah, that's nice, but look at the Eretz Yisrael I gave you. Look at where you're raising your children. Look at the miracles you're watching. Look at the Kibbutz Goliath. 2,000 years, Jews didn't witness what I give you an opportunity to see. I gave you an opportunity. You took the opportunity. You came to Eretz Yisrael. You deserve Olam Haba. But let's not stop there. Remember what I gave you. Look at the life I gave you. Look at what I gave you the opportunity to witness every day as you walk through the streets. The building cranes, more buildings, more people coming, more aliyah. You are watching Kibbutz Goliath. You are witnessing a miracle. So before a person leaves Eretz Yisrael, because Eretz Yisrael is so important to us, you go to a Rav, and instead of asking him, is this barbecue sauce kosher? Can I use this barbecue sauce? You go over to him and you say, I want to go to my cousin's son's bar mitzvah, my cousin's daughter bas mitzvah. Can I leave Eretz Yisrael for that purpose? He may say yes. He may say absolutely yes. Doesn't make a difference. He may say no. But the point is that you now gave Eretz Yisrael a chashivas. You internalize to yourself how important Eretz Yisrael is because you asked the question. And that creates for your own mental attitude. This is so important, I asked the question. So asking the question creates a critical importance. And then through the process of asking the question, you further concretize the importance of Eretz Yisrael. Can you leave? Can you not leave? This is not a come and go as you wish. It's a Rashi in this week's Parshat. Rashi is Rashi. Is it a halacha? Oh, everybody can discuss whether it's halacha. You can learn the Ksugya and Ksubah stuff, Kuf Yud Amid Beis, and everybody can come to their own conclusions. But it is a Rashi. And we sit around the table on Shabbos and we discuss the Parsha with our family. We say, and Rashi says, and you know what Rashi says in this week's Parsha? That if you're in Eretz Yisrael, you leave Eretz Yisrael, you leave it Avodah Zarah. Wow. Can we think about this Rashi? Let's discuss this Rashi. What does it mean if I made Aliyah and I want to go to my cousin's son's bar mitzvah that it's as if I worshipped Avodah Zarah? What does that mean? It means that I need to ask a shaila if I can actually go to this. Because if I go to it and I'm not allowed to go to it, it's kilo oved avodah zarah. Now these two messages in this Parsha seem to contradict each other. The first message we got in the Parsha is the roar. True freedom that God gives us is the ability to move freely and live wherever you want. Ukrosem deror. The Gemara in Rosh Hashanah and Aftes Amabay says deror is dira. Freedom means you can live where you want. And then we continue in the Parsha, and the Parsha says, if you leave Eretz Yisrael, it's as if you worshiped an idol. So the freedom that God gave us at the beginning of the Parsha and said, Yovel is a lesson in living where you want, because that's true freedom, it's dror. And then we move a little further into the Parsha and we get restricted, we get quarantined, a wonderful quarantine. The quarantine is called, you shall not leave the borders of Eretz Yisrael. And right now we're all in quarantine. There are basically no flights to go anywhere. So we're all in quarantine in Eretz Yisrael, Baruch Hashem. The most fabulous quarantine. Nobody can leave. We're all here. And that's one of the things maybe we need to learn, that we can't leave Eretz Yisrael. And Eretz Yisrael is not, I leave on my whim. But how do these two ideas go together? The only way the two ideas go together is that, yes, you have freedom of movement, but that freedom of movement is also restricted inside Eretz Yisrael unless you have a heter to go to Chutz La'aretz. And this is a discussion in the Rambam, It is a discussion in the Gemara Avodah Zarah Daf Yud Gimel. There's a discussion, a halachic discussion in the Gemara Avodah Zarah Daf Yud Gimel, and in Rambam Hilchos Malachim. Under what circumstances may a person leave Eretz Yisrael? If you don't fit into those circumstances, you have a real shaila. You need to ask. When that shaila, if it ever becomes nageh again. And this is what the Rebbeinu Shalom is teaching us by what appears to be two opposite messages. Yes, freedom means freedom to move around. But it doesn't mean you can leave Eretz Yisrael. How does those two go together? I want to read a little piece of Parshat Yitzchak so we can understand what Golus means. What is the major problem in Golus? And that's the Golus that is threatened in Parshat Bechukosai, the second Parsha this week, that if we're not Shema Torah mitzvahs, God will make us leave the land. We'll go into Golus. What is the problem with Golus? I can take my tefillin with me. I can take my mezuzah with me. I open kollels in Golus. I open shuls in Golus. I open a beis medrash in Golus. There's plenty of Torah. What exactly is the problem with Golus? Okay, I can't keep Shemitah. All right. But I can learn. I can shake my lulav. I can eat my matzah. What's the problem with Golus? Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that have this mentality. Golus is savir. I can exist here. When some man on a white donkey comes by and says, time to leave, I'll leave. But right now I can do everything that I need to do. As long as I can learn Torah and eat matzah and shake my lulav, no, I don't have the mitzvah of Truma and Maisa. All right. I can't keep Shemitah. All right, no. Rav Hutner says in a Parshat Yitzchak and Purim, Inyan Chaf Daled, what he's talking about is not relevant for us at the moment. He says, Ikra Shel Golus. The major point, the major problem in a Jew being in exile outside Eretz Yisrael, hu she'ef shelo lagola lichyos et hispashtus hachiyah shelo. A person that's not in his normal environment, he's in exile, he cannot live the full expanse of his life. He's constricted. Ef shelo lagola lichyot et hispashtus hachiyah shelo. He can't fully live the breadth of his life. He can't expand. He can't fully grow. He's constricted. Behetem l'sharshe hanefesh ha'atzmiyim. He can't blossom. He can't fully grow. Quote unquote, the big word today, the atzmius, his self. He wants to develop the self. And I don't mean it now. I'm just using the common terminology that's used today. I'm not talking about the psychological term, the self. But that is a terminology today, the self. The only place a person can develop the self is at home. Think about a person. Doesn't have to be in exile. He's a guest. You've been invited to someone's home for Shabbos. What do you bring when you're invited to someone's home for Shabbos? You bring what you need for Shabbos. If you're going to be there for 2-3 days, a little more, but you're in a suitcase. And sometimes you have to live out of the suitcase because there's no dresser in the guest room. Sometimes there's no closet in the guest room. So they give you a little thing to hang a couple of articles of clothing on. You go into a hotel or a motel. It's beautiful, 5-star hotel. And the 5-star hotel, unless you're getting a suite with 4 rooms, the 5-star hotel has a place for beds, a little place with a desk, it has a little closet. In the closet, there's a safe to put your valuables. They leave you with a couple of hangers. One hanger has the laundry bag on if you're going to do laundry in the hotel. And if you come to the hotel for 3 days, you have enough place to put your stuff. If you're checking into a hotel for 2 weeks, you wouldn't have any place to put your stuff. You couldn't expand. The place where we have expanse is at home. At home, we have this room where we keep this, and this room where we keep this, and this room. And in our house, in our homes, we also feel comfortable fully expressing ourselves. When we're sitting at someone else's table, we're careful what we say. Hopefully. When we're a guest in someone's house, should I say this? Should I not say this? Should I tell the story, not tell the story? Will the person be offended, not offended? These are all important things to think about. When you're sitting at your table at home with your wife, with your children, there are also things you can't say. But you're more open because you're at home. When a person has to leave his home, whether it's exile or he's a guest, and some people think exile is being a guest, unfortunately, but you can't be your full self. You're constricted. You can't bring all your things with you. You can't fully express yourself. You can't say everything you want. And therefore, Rav Hutner says, Ikra shel golos hu she'ef shelo legola lichios es hispashtus hachiyah shelo behetem l'shorshi hanefesh ha'atzmiyah. You can't fully develop your Jewish quote-unquote self unless you're in Eretz Yisrael. You can't do it. This is Rav Hutner speaking. So for all the people who think that I can be in Golos and fully develop my Jewish self, you're making a big mistake. You are constricted and limited. You cannot fully develop the person who you can be as a Jewish soul. You cannot do it in Chutz La'aretz. That's only something that could be done in the borders of Eretz Yisrael. That's not Lublin. I just read your Pachad Yitzhak, Purim Chav Daled. Now, somebody will say, well, yeah, okay, Rav Hutner wrote that, but Rav Hutner also spent a great deal of his life in Chutz La'aretz. And the Rambam wrote so many things, and he also lived in Egypt. And so wrote so many things, and he lived in England. Okay, we have enough of those kashas. That's what Rav Hutner wrote. So the Rebbeinu Shalom is not giving us inconsistent letters in this week's parsha. He's not giving us inconsistent messages. He begins by telling us, Doror is the freedom. You can live wherever you want. But where do you want to live? You want to live in a place where you'll feel constricted and you can't grow and fully blossom and can't develop yourself, your Jewish self, to its full capacity. Where do you want to be? In the world of psychology today, everybody's looking for the self. Everyone wants to develop the self, the self, the self, the self. And if you knew the secret that there's a specific place on earth that will help you develop yourself to your full capacity, you would go there because that would make you happy. People are unhappy many times because they can't fully express who they are. They can't grow into who they are. There's so much potential in there that they recognize about themselves. They can't find a place to express or build on that potential. And that's so frustrating that you know it's in there, but there's no place for it to grow. There's no place to water it. Rebbeinu Shalom is saying, I'm going to give you tremendous freedom here. I'm going to give you a drawer. You'll be able to live wherever you want. But then we move on into the Parshat, and Rebbeinu Shalom says, don't leave Eretz Yisrael. You want to feel freedom. You want to develop yourself. You want to expand. If you go into Golos Chas V'Sholom and Parshat Bechukosai, you're going to feel constricted. And you need to feel constricted in Chutz La'aretz, the Rambam explains. One of the purposes, the Rambam says, in Hilchos Tshuva, the Rambam says one of the purposes of exile is that a Jew should become humble, humility. He should not feel at home. He should not feel comfortable. Anything a person does to make life comfortable and quote-unquote normal in Chutz La'aretz, of course you have to have a home, etc. Whatever you're doing in Chutz La'aretz under the heter, you may have to be in Chutz La'aretz. But to embed yourself in Chutz La'aretz is highly questionable. So the Rebbeinu Shalom is saying, Kinderlach, I want you to feel free. I don't want you to feel like you're locked in. Dror. The message of Yovel is Dror. I want you to live wherever you want to live. You want to live in Zichron Yaakov, you want to live in Tel Aviv, you want to live in Yerushalayim, you want to live in Bnei Brak. Live. Find the place where you can feel comfortable. But you need to live in Eretz Yisrael. If you leave Eretz Yisrael, it's Oved Avodah Zarah, it's Kilo Oved Avodah Zarah. You're losing yourself. You cannot develop your true Jewish self in Chutz La'aretz. You're hurting yourself. You're hurting your quote-unquote self. So there's no contradictory messages here in this beautiful parasha. Dror, Yovel is freedom. Live where you want, but live in a place where you can develop your full potential to be a true high-level neshama, which is your potential. Where can I do that? You can do that in Eretz Yisrael. And the Rebbeinu Shalom, for our benefit.
Amen.
The Rebbeinu Shalom says, for our benefit, remain inside the borders of Eretz Yisrael. That's where you will be emotionally healthy. That's where you will be happy, because you'll be able to grow into your true self. And God forbid, we don't have to come to Parshat Bechukosai and leave into exile where we have to become constricted. God forbid, in our avodas Hashem. And yes, not being able to keep Shemitah, not being able to keep Trumas and Maasros is a terrible thing. A Jew should be able to live in Eretz Yisrael. And when that year of Shemitah comes, I know it's such a, is it Badatz? Is it this? Is it Badatz? Is it Rabbanut? It's all beautiful. It becomes a discussion about how to keep Shemitah. It's beautiful. Who gets this opportunity every 7 years? Is it, can I eat this fruit? Can I not eat this fruit? Is it Shemitah? Is it not Shemitah? Where they come from? Rav Kook's Het Mechiva. Is it yes or not? It's a whole discussion that can only happen in Eretz Yisrael. How lucky we are that we can live here and keep the mitzvah of Shemitah. How lucky we are that we look, when we go to buy fruits and vegetables, we look at the store, whose hashgacha is the Trumas and Maasros under. That's not easy. When I used to take my children on trips in America, we used to get into the car, throw some tuna fish in, sometimes mayonnaise and rolls, and everything else you need, you get a 7-Eleven. There's no problem. You go into a 7-Eleven, you get apples, oranges, bananas. You buy anything you want. You can't get on the road here in Eretz Yisrael and say, I'll get fruits and vegetables on the road. You don't know about Trumas and Maasros. It's unbelievable. Trumas and Maasros have become part of our lives. Shemitah is part of our life. And that makes us grow and become big in the shamas because that's part of being a yid. It's not an exception. It's not in Chutz La'aretz, you don't need to keep these things. It's in Chutz La'aretz, you're missing this. And because you're missing this, your neshama doesn't have an opportunity to do these mitzvahs. And if it can't have the opportunity to do these mitzvahs, it doesn't have the full opportunity, as Rav Footner says, to grow. All those yidden that need refuahs should have refuahs. All the yidden that need nechamas should have nechamas. All the yidden that need Yeshua should have Yeshuas. Refuahs, Yeshuas, nechamas. Ein oid milvadai, we learned in Ramchal.
Amen.
They only come through God. And when you go to your doctor's a messenger from God, and God sent him there and educated him. And when the doctor gives you the right medicine, you have to hug him and kiss him when you're allowed to. And you got to thank him, thank you. But you always got to remember behind the doctor is Ein Oid Milvadai. God created the medicine and God gave the intellect to the doctor. The same way the abracadabra lady can harm, God forbid, only at God's discretion. The doctor can only heal at God's discretion. Yeshua's nechamas refuahs ein oid milvadai, and God should send the blessing to the people so that we can have refuahs, Yeshua's, and nechamas. Thank again Shmuel for the work he does to make this possible. We want to thank Yaakov Isaacson again. Everybody have a wonderful Shabbos. And in Yom Rishon, Rabbi Sai, we're moving into the next phase in the Beis HaMikdash. We're going to start building a Mizbeach. Okay, we're going to start, we've dealt with the outer structure, and now we're going to start building a Mizbeach upon which Karbonis can be built. We're going to continue with the Ramchal, and Mi'etz Hashem, everybody should have a wonderful, healthy, enjoyable Shabbos. Sei gesund.